Never let your parents give you their house.
Never, ever transfer your home into your kid's name or leave it to them in your will.
Imagine working all your life to buy a house for your kids, paying said house off, and you pass away and your kids cannot do not one thing with their house.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Welcome back.
So today we're talking about like inheriting a house. So you say a beloved family member kicks the bucket, pushes up daisies, falls down a flight of stairs, suspiciously, definitely did not do nothing there. But anyway, and then they leave you your house. Apparently, that actually could be pretty bad to be left a house with mortgage, without mortgage, compared to like what these financial advisors and people say. So I really want to know about that.
Yeah, because everything comes with issues, even though it might seem like it's great.
Yeah. The only inheritance issues I ever heard of were people trying to end the lives of each other to get more inheritance.
For you.
Or suing people out of it. So.
Don't do that, though.
Or do. I don't, please.
Not good.
It's not.
Imagine working all your life to buy a house for your kids, paying said house off, and you pass away and your kids cannot do not one thing with their house. That is what happens when you leave your house to your children, but you never actually put them on the deed. You never have a will, and the house is not in a trust. Because like I tell y'all all the time, like, yes, there's laws in place. Like, of course, your heirs are entitled to what's yours, but they have to go enact that law. I mean, they have to go to probate court. And anybody that you owe money is entitled to that house too, just like your kids. Like, the more you know. Put your house in a living trust, or at the minimum, have a will.
A will?
Imagine
a will.
Oh, well, honestly, I hate auto captions. They suck so bad. They don't get at all what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy. Like, I never really thought about that. You owe money to somebody, but you didn't put your house in a deed or will for your kids when you die. And you didn't get that mess appraised by a lawyer. That's what it's called, right? Appraised. And now it's like, womp womp. Your kids have no home and you're gone.
Look, hopefully you don't die with like too much debt. That's why like generational wealth and debt, whatever, is like a real thing, because having all that debt can block the generational wealth. Because if you owe and then you die, like, they're gonna take whatever is left of your house to cover the debt. So like, if your estate doesn't cover everything, I guess the rest is like dropped or whatever, but still, it could take the full thing or it could take a portion of it. And your kids won't inherit as much.
It's horrible.
It is. That's why it's important to follow the law, code stuff, and get wills and all of that. Get it together.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to buy nothing either, because everyone's always acting like you gotta buy a course to forget. This is legit available online. It's so easy.
It is.
There's just a lot of reading, and that's the worst part about it. It makes it look hard, but it's actually easier to understand.
Exactly.
Okay, so for most of us, property is our biggest asset, and usually we have more than one person to give it to. But the thing is, take a look at what exactly happens, like what troubles will befall the family if you actually give it to more than one person. So basically, let's see, this is Richard, right? Okay, then Richard is married to this lady, and then they have a son and a daughter. And then by Richard's will or whatever, they say, okay, you know what, 50% to my wife, and then 50% to my son, 25%, and then 25% to my daughter as well. Okay, so then we're going to count all of the problems that they're going to face. So firstly, because the two children already own this, let's say a condo, 25% of it, anything that they buy, if they want to buy another property, they are both subject to ABSD because they already own 25. And this doesn't matter. Even if they own just 1%, the next property they buy, ABSD. And then after that, because let's say both of them are already private property owners, they cannot BTO with their fiancés. So they cannot BTO. And then after that, they're like, okay, then how? Then can we maybe put 100% under my fiancé? And then so that we don't incur ABSD. But then the thing is, like, the wife will be like, oh, so what, my children are owning like 0% of their matrimonial home, everything is to the fiancé? Like, I wouldn't agree, and then maybe Richard wouldn't agree, and then maybe they wouldn't agree, because there is a kind of risk, right, if everything is owned by the fiancé. So that's kind of like, okay, not a solution as well. So that's already like, okay, firstly ABSD, and then after that it cannot BTO, then after that if put under fiancé also cannot. Okay, so already 3 issues. Then after that they're like, wow, then what else can we do? Can we have my mom buy over my share? Then I'm not an owner anymore, right? Which is also possible. So let's see if this 25%, the mom will buy over. But then 2 issues. Number one, is she gonna get cash? Where is she gonna get cash? Because if she's gonna buy over this 25%, they need actual cash to buy it over. And second thing, which is more of an issue, is she also has to pay ABSD on this 25% that she's trying to buy over. So most people don't know, but then even if it's the same property, you're buying over that 25%, this 25% is subject to ABSD by the mom. Okay, then they're like, what other solutions do we have? Can we like take out a loan? Can my mom take out a loan? But then what if this mom is a housewife? Then you have your next problem. Or if let's say, okay, she's not a housewife, she's working and everything, all's good. But then let's say what if when Richard passed on, she was already, let's say 60s, 65 years old. Even if the bank were to grant her a loan, probably like 5 years. So essentially it's like the same as not taking a loan, like the financial burden is still there, you have to repay within 5 years. So that's another issue. Then if they're thinking, okay, then what else can we do? Can we take out like an equity loan? Is that workable? So technically for equity loan, what happens is all three owners of the property have to sign. But then the next problem number 8, the daughter is like, why must I sign on the equity loan? Like, why should I sign and then I'm responsible, but it's to buy over your share? But what about my 25%? Are we going to like do it together or what? So basically they may not agree as well. And then the last problem is, what if they have different ideas when it comes to what to do with the property? So even if it's just 2 people, maybe one of them wants to live in it, the other one wants to sell, the other one wants to rent, and then now you have 3 people, so it's really hard. Like, you're gonna have unwanted disputes. Okay, so these are all the problems that they will meet with, like 9 problems. But then it's still relatively less complex because this is still just within the family. So essentially there are 2 ways of owning a property. One is a joint tenancy, and then another one is a tenancy in common. So this one may be the more troublesome one. So for a joint tenancy, let's say usually it's between husband and wife. So let's say if Richard and the wife, they have a joint tenancy, what happens is, let's say if Richard passes on, his 50%, assuming it's 50-50, his 50% goes to the wife. So then she will own 100%. And then vice versa, if she passed on first, and then the 50% will go to him. And then he will own 100%. So that's kind of like, okay, within the 2 of them. But then if it's a tenancy in common, what happens is, let's say Richard owns this property with someone else, like a tenancy in common. So you have Richard, and then you have this other guy. Okay, so they have a tenancy in common. What happens is, if let's say Richard passes on, instead of his share going to this other guy, his share, Richard's, let's say 50%, goes to Richard's beneficiaries, which in this case, let's say, would be 50% to the wife, 25% to the son, and then 25% to the daughter. So essentially, the wife, the son, and the daughter will own this property together with this stranger guy. So that's when you get more problems, right? When strangers are owning this together, and now you have 4 owners. So there are even more disputes. Or if, let's say, if this guy wasn't like a stranger, let's say this is Richard's mom. Okay, so then now the wife is like, great, so now I own it with my mother-in-law. If the relationship is not good, then that's kind of another issue for them, right? So basically for tenancy in common, it's also an issue. And then if there's no will, or if it's just by law, or if your will distributes the same property to multiple heirs, then problems like this can happen. So for your estate planning, to avoid potential risks like this and all of the issues that come with it, you can DM me and then we can see how to arrange it for you.
Of course.
Okay, so
Always a course.
It's always a course. They're always selling something. Just tell me things. Inform me, please.
Yes.
I am so lost. I have never been so... I understand it, but then I'm also lost at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So all I heard is that no matter what you do, it's going to be a lot of issues, but certain things will have less issues than others. I guess the in common one is basically more like a issue within society, like relationship based stuff.
I feel like anytime you have to get like legal documents or the law involved, it's going to be like a bunch of issues. It's just a big headache.
Well, that's just how life works, I guess, because you don't want it to be up to the government in the act, because the act is like loopholed out, so many loopholes in that mess.
Yeah, so if you have like a bunch of assets, just protect them, and especially if you have a family, like just get this out the way so they don't have to deal with that.
For real.
It's too much.
Yeah, most definitely.
If you inherit a home from your parents, you can keep that home and not be required to pay off the mortgage. Federal law requires that you be allowed to assume the mortgage that your parents had. You can assume that loan that your parents had and take responsibility for future payments with the deed and the loan put in your name. You can just take up where they left off. If you inherit a
That's cool.
That is cool, especially if you have parents that have had a loan and they're paying it for like 29 years and it was like a 30-year mortgage. Basically, you just got to pay like what, a year extra mortgage, probably, and that's about it.
Yeah, if it's a good deal, just take it at this point.
If you think about it, that makes your parents' death a discount.
Yeah, pretty much. Just if they have like $1 million home though, and then there's like a lot left on that loan and you're not gonna get out of it until you die, like just don't do it.
Yeah.
Sell that mess.
Yeah, truly. But how did that? Because with regular mortgages, you gotta sell that and you gotta make back the money for a lawyer, but you're still gonna have mortgage like stuff on it. If I just inherited the mortgage and I sold a house for more than I actually own back in the mortgage, still, I basically do I leave with like a net positive or?
Probably wouldn't get anything from it because then at that point it's just gonna go back to the bank or whatever. I don't know. Sucks.
It sucks.
But you definitely don't want you to be gone and then your family has to sort everything out in court and then people have to speculate on what you would have wanted. Put a will in place.
Crazy.
You inherited a house with no mortgage, and your husband has lived with you for many years. Does he get half the house? The answer is no. There was no mortgage on the house that had to be paid down. There's no appreciation that he gets. He gets nothing. The house is 100% yours. This happens. Parents leave their children their houses more times than I can tell you. I get this question all the time, and I am happy to be able to tell my client that that house is theirs. Their spouse, even if they've lived there, doesn't get a dime because their spouse has basically lived there for free. So all I can say is that house is yours and yours alone.
Because people don't realize that too. Like I know a lot of people do believe like if a divorce happens and you inherit something, someone has access to that, and they don't because it's not they're only attached basically by law, quote unquote, but not by law that they get things.
Yeah. So then, can they be added to the deed though?
That'd be pretty stupid to do overall. Even though, like, if you have faith in your spouse or your loved one, you probably would add them to the deed, but they don't need to. That seems like a lot of extra work too in the first place.
Well, because then you would both have the assets or whatever, and then maybe if one of you passes, that way it'll just be easier for the inheritance and stuff, and for the kids.
Well, and that's why you get a will still, because wills go around everything. So even if something like this happens, they're in the will. They can just be taken out of the will.
Yeah.
So
or if you're worried about your net worth.
Yeah.
Because then it'll be both of your net worth, not just one.
Yeah. So it makes it really that, because people I have heard before oh, they're no, they're not, just because they're with you. Basically, cousin-in-law, there wasn't left to them. They ain't got nothing. If you guys both didn't have your name on the house when you bought it, the other person don't own nothing.
Yeah,
they're just there. They have an asset, quote unquote, but they gotta go through you first.
Pretty much.
This makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But check your state.
Yeah, very for.
Never let your parents give you their house. Here's why. Daughter, I'm giving you my house. You can help me manage it, and it will make things easier when I die. Don't do that, Mom. You don't want my house? I do. It's just you bought the house for $100,000 and it's now worth $700,000. If you transfer it to me now, I'll be responsible in paying taxes on that $600,000 capital gain when I sell it. I don't want the house. What should I do? Put your house in a revocable living trust. This transfers to me capital gains tax-free and avoids probate. Wow.
Wow.
Wow, I would have never known that.
Yeah, thank you, White Camilla Harris. I don't know why this reminds me of.
So stupid.
I don't know why. It's weird. I think it's the suit. Anyway. Yeah. That's really, it's that simple. All you gotta do is know your laws. If you got a good lawyer or a good financial advisor, they will tell you all this information.
Exactly.
You don't even need that. You can just look up stuff. They'll tell you all that information.
For real, there's like a lot of laws and it varies a lot by state and city sometimes or whatever, but you have resources to look at it or like ask.
Yeah, legit. The funniest thing too, I could say, I've learned a lot more financial stuff from Teen Titans Go than I did from school. Ain't that crazy?
It's actually really sad.
It's actually very sad. They gave up on that show so much they started putting financial advice in it.
Which they should do. Can we please go back to educating the younger generation?
Yeah,
Please.
it's so funny too. Like first things first, you see like fart and butt jokes all day, and the next episode's like, oh, anyway, you won't know how to make money through a 401k. It's like, all right, go ahead.
It's so stupid.
Never, ever transfer your home into your kid's name or leave it to them in your will. You'll end up hurting them and doing more harm than good. When you've owned your property for many years, its value has likely appreciated a lot. If you pass it to your kids in your will, they'll have to pay all the capital gains taxes on that appreciation. After probate court, they'll be lucky to keep you in 65% of the value you've worked so hard to build. Instead, you need to put your property into a living trust and name your kids as the beneficiaries. This way, they inherit the house tax-free through a special rule called a stepped-up cost basis. This is how the wealthy create generational wealth. I've added an example with numbers in the caption for you. Click follow if you want to build your wealth.
I'm not.
Never.
And the sad thing is, too, they changed the format of TikTok or the web page, and now we can't even see the comments
Yeah, can't really see
without
anything
clicking on something. And I don't want to do that. I'm too lazy to. It sucks.
for you.
But overall, like, man, this makes wills so, like, never thought about how, ugh. Ew. I hate this format now.
This all sucks.
It's so gross. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, but they should really teach things like this in school because you would have never heard
known.
of this.
I would never known. And that's the saddest part.
Yeah.
Truly, I think inheritance is kind of funny, true. For real, because recently I heard in the news, was it Warren Buffett or like Bill Gates? I think both of them. They ain't leaving their kids nothing. They're getting 1% of their fortune. Billionaires are leaving their kids 1%. The rest is going to something else. Pretty sure Warren Buffett, he's like a philanthropist. He's giving that mess to just multiple different charities, multiple groups, just all over the place, and his kids get 1%, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Because he's a billionaire. 1% of a billionaire's, like multi-billionaires, money is like a lot of money. So they actually are still winning, still getting a lot.
Yeah, still generational wealth right there.
Yeah. That's I want to get to that point where I have so much money. If I give someone like 0.1%, it's basically still more than most people will see in their lifetime.
Same. Don't we all?
You know, we all. For reals. But what would you leave your kids?
House. I guess car. Whatever other assets.
They get one cookbook.
Bruh.
No, I'm joking. But no, that'd be really truly cool just to leave something for somebody. Because my dad wants to leave me land. He has land in New Hampshire. He wants to leave me that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm going to do land in rural New Hampshire.
Something. You can always use it for something.
Then that's cool.
It really is.
That's all I got to say for real.
But let us know in the comments if you've inherited something or if you're expecting to inherit something.
Yeah, also, even tell us if you've been cheated out of something.
Yes. Did your family members steal your inheritance? How? Because I don't know how that works. If there's a way to actually do that, even if it's in the will.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be interesting.
Well, I hear people use lawyers and loopholes a lot, so that sucks.
Yeah.
Mm.
But thank you for watching the video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video, and please get it to 1,000 subscribers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys. My hand's not on camera. Bye.